Welcome. I bid you welcome to the North and South Rock and Metal Connection. I am your host, Johnny Metal, the Metal Dad, John Clauser, whatever you want to call me. Coming to you from my music corner of the world. We got, in one corner, we got JD and Ben sitting in the same room, and Ben has ridiculously shaven here a little bit. So, y'all poke fun at him in the comments here.
Let me have it. Let me have it. I've been called everything under the sun. Porno cop is my favorite one.
It's a me, a Mario.
I said, yeah.
We got Ben's brother Jason. Who are you gonna call today, brother? As he's wearing his Ghostbusters. He's wearing some Ghostbusters. And then we got from the snowy north, Roger Serreras. How you doing, brother?
Snowed in.
Snowed in. I was gonna say you look like you need to get yourselves dug out up there. So
I enjoyed a beautiful day outside in the 80 degrees, sunshiny weather of central Alabama.
My wife's flipping you off.
Roger, just make sure that you have enough milk and loaf bread.
That's right.
That's true. That's true.
And toilet paper.
Yeah.
What?
UTP.
What in the blue hell's loaf bread?
Oh, white bread, just plain white
Just
bread.
plain
Yeah,
bread.
because you got to make your milk sandwiches.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yes.
so that's some kind of heck thing.
And yes, every time it thunderstorms or it's going to be bad, everybody runs out and buys up all the milk and bread.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
you ever heard of thunder snow? That's what last night was.
That
Yep.
doesn't exist in Alabama.
Yeah, that doesn't exist in Alabama, but I have experienced it in Maryland when I lived there.
It sounds.
That was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Craziest thing.
We're already ankle deep in pollen right now.
Yeah. Yeah. See, for those of you who watch, the Alabama tends to only have four seasons. All right. Summer, football, tornado, and pollen.
That's it.
And the four always tend to run at the same time all year long. So there you go. So now that go ahead, Jason.
We have the weather gamut of the rest of the nation in one day. I mean, we have beautiful springtime from about 5 to 7 in the morning, and then summer is all the way to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you got a nice little bit of fall before sundown, and then it usually becomes winter.
Right. Yes.
So we get it all in. Go ahead.
I heard that they franchised the XFL and the USFL just because from September to after February, Fox and ESPN's ratings plummeted by like 70%. So that's why they brought up the XFL and USFL, because nobody in the South watches Fox or ESPN, when it's not football season.
Nope. So,
makes sense.
So there you go, guys. Now y'all got some weather forecasting. You got some football talk in.
That's right.
If we were going to talk about AEW, we could have, but that's not until tomorrow night, and I don't think any of us are watching it except for maybe me. But I won't be watching it live. But we are talking 1983. Probably going to be one of the last years we talk about music releases for a little while. We're going to try and delve away into some other subjects here soon, but we've been wanting to do 1983 for a long time.
40th anniversary.
40th anniversary of some really fantastic albums. Ben, I know you are chomping at the bit. Kick us off, brother.
Okay. Starting at number 5. I have
Look at my paper. I'm sorry, it's right there at my foot.
I have a wonderful, hilariously outrageous, glammy, just terrible but great album that just did some things and some stuff. I'm a Kiss fanatic. No Kiss. There is no bad Kiss. There's just levels of great Kiss.
It's all bad. It's all bad.
I love Kiss too, and I think I'm just gonna stop.
You know, this album here had one good song on it. You know, I did like the song, the title song, "Lick It Up." It was great.
Not really.
No, I mean it was a goofy glam song. You know,
I would just like to say I played that for my wife when we first started dating.
that's right. And as far as Unpainted Kiss goes, this is the weaker of the albums. Vinny was not a great fit for the lineup. He really wanted to be, you know, a Rhodes or a Van Halen style shredder, which just doesn't fit the mold of Kiss. But it's an album that came out in 1983, you know. So if Kiss releases an album in 83, I got to talk about it.
Of course.
I mean, it's a good record though. It's got some good songs on it though, I will admit. Like I own it. That's my CD. So usually if I own it, that means I like it.
Hey, Exciter, no, not for the innocent. All Hell's Breaking Loose.
All Hell's Breaking Loose is a great song. I did listen to this whole album the other day.
It fits like a glove. I think
Yeah.
the Gene tracks on here are probably the better songs on it, in my opinion, or the Gene tracks, because they sound like a Gene track.
It's hard for me to argue about Paul singing on here though, because during this part of their career, Paul was at like his absolute peak as a vocal performer, way above what he did in the 70s. He was just on fire in the 80s. So my pick for number 5, "Lick It Up" by Kiss.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna go. Let's go to Roger. Let's hear what Roger's got to say. For number 5.
Okay.
I'm gonna really screw up the order here. So
Iron Maiden, "Peace of Mind," and this wasn't originally on my list, believe it or not, because that's how good 1983 was. And I think this is one of the weaker Iron Maiden CDs, in my opinion. Even though The Trooper is probably their best song.
Wow.
Yep, I'm that crazy. Anyway, I'm not going to say too much because there's going to be probably a lot more on this later.
I imagine so. Jason, let's go to you then.
I went with my number 5. I would say it's, even though it is number 5 on my list, it's probably the most critically loved album that came out in 1983. I went Pyromania by Def Leppard. I mean, yeah, and apparently somebody else wants to talk about that too. So I'm just going to say, I love this record. It's a phenomenal record.
Yes, it is.
There is not a bad song on that record. And since JD is apparently the one who wants to speak about it.
Oh no, I just had it as a prop. I just brought it out.
Yeah.
I was like, it's 83.
Yeah.
Somebody might talk about it, so I just have it.
It deserves a lot of talk.
Yeah, it deserves a mention. It's solid.
I have the t-shirt somewhere.
Yeah, my wife's got a Def Leppard Pyromania t-shirt that I got for her. It's a wonderful record. There's nothing bad about that record at all, and I firmly believe that it deserves a spot on the top 5 albums of 1983. So I put it on mine.
Sounds good to me.
And
no argument here.
Yeah.
JD, what you got for number 5?
There we go for me. All right. I went with it's the 12th and final studio album by this band. I've mentioned them, I believe, twice before and it's funny enough, they're in the same spot. The third time they're in the exact same spot. I went with
Rush,
Thunder and Lightning.
And Lizzie, all right.
hot damn, it's so exciting. I didn't want to say the actual words, but oh my goodness.
It's a good record.
Doing
It's a
this
great
whole
record.
video thing has just made me just fall in love with the band Thin Lizzy. And for this, it's the the only album that has John Sykes on guitar. I probably would say it's to me, out of what I've heard, I think it's the heaviest Thin Lizzy album, but it still sounds like Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
Like the songs, like you got the title track, which just kicks it off, just hits you right in there. And you're like, oh, but like I said, it's still got the same feel. And I really wish that there could have been more after this. I think that would have been, but we all know John Sykes went on to be in Whitesnake. So, but yeah, this great, like I said, This Is the One is a really good track. The Sun Goes Down, I like that one. The Holy War. Playing out the next track 5, Cold Sweat. The first time, funny enough, I heard this song, well, it was a cover by Megadeth off their Super Collider album. Never knew this song existed before then. And I was listening to this album, and I was like, wait a minute, why does this song sound so familiar? And I was like, wait, I've heard this before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then you got Someday She's Gonna Get Hit Back, like that one. Baby Please Don't Go is really good. But I think my two favorites, if I had to put favorites, are the last two tracks, Bad Habits and the final track, Heart Attack.
Okay.
I can't think of to have your final album end with those two tracks is just great. And I don't know too much about I do know that Phil went on to do some solo stuff, but he didn't really have too much of success with it, and then he eventually passed away.
Passed away in
later,
86, yeah,
86, I think. But yeah, but still, for it to be a final album, I think it's great. It's a way looking back, like looking at now and this year, it's a fantastic way to kick off,
Yep.
to finish a career.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a very revered album amongst its fans. So,
oh yeah,
very good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to search for a decent copy of it myself for me to add to the collection.
Yep. I'm sure they are out there. So, all right, great choice. Glad to see Thin Lizzy still getting some love. So, okay, so my list is going to include a little bit of stuff that I was listening to in 1983, as well as some stuff that I would have discovered eventually. This one, the band had long been disbanded due to the death of its singer. And but they released this little half studio, half live album. Had some studio outtakes and some live tracks. And yeah, I'm talking about The Doors. Alive She Cried. There's only 7 tracks on this, but you get a cover of Gloria, and Jim Morrison takes Gloria and pretty much turns her into a street corner whore, pretty much. He really amps up the sexuality in the song. Light My Fire has a long section where he does like one of his famous poems about being in a cemetery. You Make Me Real, quick little live track. Texas Radio and the Big Beat, another great song. Love Me 2 Times, great track. Little Red Rooster, Moonlight Drive, end out this album. But this was a great studio outtake and live album that they came out with. I think it's hard to find this particular version by itself. I think it's kind of mixed on another compilation live thing, but so I thought I'd go something a little different with one of my picks. So Ben, number 4, what we got?
Number 4 for me is the band is fighting pretty hard within itself right now these days, 40 years later, on the verge of probably just calling it quits altogether. Some nasty stuff going on, but 1983 saw the release of the album Frontiers by the California-based band Journey.
Yes.
Which features my absolute favorite Journey song of all time ever, Separate Ways, Worlds Apart, long before Stranger Things and Company had it remixed for their season finale. That was my go-to favorite song.
Great album.
Which was awesome, by the way. The Stranger Things cut was really cool.
Oh, it was
I would like to say I love that they're putting like metal and rock in their show because it's bringing metal and rock.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The
Show is incredible. I've been a fan since season 1. Love the show, but I love that, and like you said, I love they're bringing in all of the classic rock and classic metal from the '80s into the show. But Frontiers doesn't have a whole lot of super well-known songs on it. It's got Separate Ways, Worlds Apart. It's got Faithfully, which was one of their biggest hits of all time. And it's got Only the Young, which they used to use to open up all of their concerts, I believe.
That's not on Frontiers. That was on the next one, I think.
Oh, must be a bonus track on the.
Maybe it was a bonus track, but yeah.
Now I'm looking.
Send her my love was a big one on that album.
It's on here. At least it says so on
Spotify. Must have been a bonus track. So okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it.
But yeah, Send Her My Love was a pretty big hit. Chain Reaction was a pretty well played song. But I love this album. I love Separate Ways. Huge influence on me. Neil Schon is an amazing guitar player. Self-taught, studied under Santana. Great melody, great flow, great solo structure, and a very nice man. I follow him on Facebook. He's a pretty nice fella.
So I did a quick little Googly.
Yeah.
So Only the Young is on the 2006 CD reissue bonus track.
Okay.
It wasn't on the original.
It was in the Vision Quest soundtrack.
You are correct.
But yeah,
it's
kind of same time period. But yeah.
Yeah. It's a song that I know they used to open up a lot of concerts with. It was the opening track of concerts, and Arnell sings it, pretty regularly. It's a great track.
I mean, Edge of the Blade, After the Fall, Rubicon, the title track. I mean, that was, man. You thought side A was front loaded. Well, side B still has some pretty strong tracks too. So
yeah.
Great album. I love me some Frontiers. I've been thinking about getting that one again because I haven't had that in a while.
Yeah.
Good choice.
That's right.
Roger.
And from there on, I'll be moving into the metal side of things.
Rock and roll.
Eventually.
All right.
Roger, and I stay with Quick and Furious, and there's a reason why Metallica covered 4 out of the 7 songs of this album. I picked Melissa by Merciful Fate. This was their debut album too, which they started the formula of crazy solos at the beginning and then sing a bit and then crazy solos. I don't know what else to say. It's just Evil has probably some of my most favorite lyrics, which I won't sing them. My wife saying thank God.
Great
Curse
album.
of the Pharaohs continues with the speed. They slow it down for maybe like a minute at the beginning of Into the Coven. And then the haunting track from Melissa, which I got to see live. That was fun. Or did I see that live? No, it was Evil and Come to the Sabbath. My bad.
Hmm.
See, this is the good thing about us. You get mistakes and you get to laugh.
That's
But yeah,
You have
again,
to laugh at
King
mistakes.
Diamond is just a ridiculous vocalist. So good. He does. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves, and I know I say that, or I've said that probably about two other times.
Yeah.
And I'll continue to pick their albums and say he doesn't get the credit he deserves.
That album was on the outside looking in.
Right.
That one was right when we first started doing all this. That was like the first one that I went to was that one because like, oh, well, I was like, I really like the follow up. So that was like one of the first ones I heard from '83 for this year, and I was like, oh man, So so I'm in my spare time. I'm gonna dig more into. I'm gonna look into King Diamond along with Merciful Fate as well. So I'm gonna look both into it because it's just both of them are just fantastic to me.
Just don't do it around Ben because it might scare him.
I'll
And
do it especially around Ben.
you might summon something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you might summon something pretty evil, but all right, Jason, let's get your number 4.
My number 4 was JD's number 5.
Okay.
I had to go with Thunder and Lightning. It was a really really great album. He mentioned all the songs on it, so I'm just going to mention 2 that I thought were the highlights of the record, and that was the last 2 on side A, The Sun Goes Down and The Holy War. I thought those were absolutely brilliant. I mean, JD was right. The rest of the album is phenomenal. I mean, there's really not a bad song on it, but those were the 2 for me that really stuck out. And it's a easy recommendation for anybody who has never listened to Thin Lizzy. Give this one a shot. It's a really easy album to get into, and it will lead you down the rabbit hole of Thin Lizzy.
That's true.
I mean,
go along with that.
As you put it, it's probably their heaviest record that they did, especially in the studio. But even though it's heavier than most of their stuff, it's more, I guess, accessible is the word I'm looking for. It's phenomenal. I loved it, and I think anybody else will. So
I went back and gave my 543 another listen. So earlier today, so I can get it programmed in here a little, So.
All right. Well, what you got for number 4, JD?
I have. Okay, here we go. Another debut. I mean, seems like there's a lot. I'm doing a little bit of research. There's a lot of debuts in this year. Debuts or finals, mainly debuts. This is the debut of it. They're American. Yeah, I can't even talk right now. Anyway, going with Sirens by Sabotage. And I'll show the cover actually. I think I like this one a little bit better. I like the UK cover better than the US.
That'll show up great on you.
Yeah. Title track, Sirens kicks off. Oh God, his vocals are just insane to me on this whole album, just especially that one. And it's great. I love it. Like I said, title track's amazing. Holocaust right afterwards, just the 1-2 combo back to back. Great track too. I Believe, I love great track. Rage, On the Run. You got Twisted Little Sister is track 6. I like that one. Living for the Nights. Love that one too. Like it's just this great album all the way through. The one track that I'm not the biggest fan of is Out on the Streets, because it sounds kind of a little bit different than everything that came before it. Like everything's kind of crunchy and semi-raw sounding. Then you get to that one, and it's just, I'm out on the streets, sounds like you kind of, music that I don't know, it just doesn't fit very well. But doing a little bit of research, the vocalist said that they recorded this and some other tracks that went to an EP that was released a couple years later. Apparently, he said that they recorded it all in a day and mixed it in a day because they couldn't afford a bunch of studio time. And if that's really the case, then holy crap.
Yeah.
To record and mix everything in a day.
Yep. Yeah, Sirens and Dungeons Are Calling. That early stuff is amazing.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to listen to the EP yet. It's on the list to listen to, but and I've not really listened to, I think I listened to when we did 86. I listened to the one they did there. It was okay. But their 87 album, is it Hall of the
Mountain King?
You told me about that one years ago.
And crazy.
But
there's lots of reasons why Pete Pardo of Sea of Tranquility calls that probably his favorite album of all time.
Yeah.
Or at least one of them.
It's just weird to think that, but they're a band that's not, that I've noticed, aren't highly talked about.
And then they went on to become the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
True.
Well, but unfortunately, John Alivio lost his brother.
Yeah.
And
in a car accident. So
I read
that was huge. That was awful when that happened. But they still went on. But then they essentially became TSO. But man, that early Sabotage was great.
Yeah, I was doing a little more research last night. There's been like a lot of talks that their last album they did was like in 2001, and there were some talks that they might, if possible, could do another one, because there's been all these, they're saying, yeah, we got some stuff written that we can probably do a couple albums out of, but we don't know yet.
Yeah.
And all the guys like, yeah, we'll see. But it's just, I don't think anything's going to happen out of it. And
we'll see.
But I mean, that's true. The stranger things have happened. I look, going off topic just a split second. The band Extreme are back.
Mm-hmm.
They dropped a track a couple days ago.
Should be interesting.
I haven't heard them since like they did the No More Words song in like 91, but they had a few albums up, but they just
they did a couple of things.
It popped out of it's an amazing track. I think it's called Rise.
I never really listened to them.
Look up the song Rise. Just the guitar song alone is just enough.
I've heard some good things about it. All right, well, that's a great choice with Sabotage. I can't go wrong with that album. That's awesome. Okay, well, I'm gonna kind of lighten things up a little bit.
Uh-oh.
I'm going with Robert Plant's Principle of Moments album.
Robert Plant.
Yeah, this was his second solo album after the Pictures at 11 album, of course, after Zeppelin disbands and calls it a day. So this album has songs like In the Mood, which was a video. That one was played on MTV quite a lot. The song Big Log.
The song In the Mood, I still hear on the radio.
Yeah, you probably do. Big Log, that was another MTV song played a lot. This was a solid album. Listen to coming after Pictures at 11. Other Arms, Reckless Love, Through with the Two Step. I mean, this is a strong album. Follow up to to pictures at 11. So yeah, I'm gonna give a little love to Robert Plant, who I'm looking forward to seeing in concert with Alison Krauss at the end of April here down at the Oak Mountain Amphitheater. So
He has been having so much fun over the last 10 years or so doing the Alison Krauss gig.
Yeah, doing.
Yeah, most of his style is more kind of bluesy Americana, folksy kind of stuff, and that seems to be more like what as he's aged. That seems to be more of what he's into. He doesn't really want to do the heavy Zeppelin stuff anymore.
Isn't
I think
it
he's done
crazy
with
that
that.
the founder of heavy metal, the heavy metal label, is a bluegrass folk singer with Alison Krauss these days?
But I'll tell you what, those albums are pretty good.
I wouldn't say it's crazy the way this planet goes sometimes. Also, I wasn't making faces at Robert Plant. I was making faces because the Leafs playoff chances kind of went out the window. So,
and now we got you, and now we have your sports.
That's right.
You've had weather, and now you've had sports.
Yeah.
So now back to number 3, Ben. What you got?
We're gonna take it back to the Weather Channel a little bit, because in 1983 it started flooding down in Texas.
Oh,
My!
You see what I did there?
Stand the weather.
That's funny.
That's
funny. I like that.
The debut album of Stevie Ray Vaughan as a solo artist.
You had to get a dad joke out of it.
And I made a dad joke out of it. Not a good one at that either.
Yeah, well, I mean, none of them are. Let's face it. But
he puts a lot of pride and joy into those dad jokes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Notice how I was scuttlebutting around that. So
that's right. That's right.
I got him too. So
he got him too.
But wait a second. I'm gonna guess your pick. It's Metal Magic by Bandera.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
I would pick that up. I would pick that Metal Magic over Stevie Ray.
But in 1983, this man and this band, Double Trouble, a little Hendrix style 4-piece unit, took over. Yeah, 3-piece. It was 3-piece, just like Hendrix. Took over the radio, took over the entire Southeast, Southwest, whole half of the country became obsessed with Stevie Ray because of this album. To this day, guitar players still try to figure out how to get that sound, how to play like Stevie, how to do what Stevie did. John Mayer is basically a modern day Stevie Ray Vaughan. He just releases pop songs to stay relevant. But this album, I mean, Texas Flood and Pride and Joy and Mary Had a Little Lamb are some just insane examples of what he can do. He was a Hendrix of his era. He was a Renaissance man. People still worship him and look up to him as a guitar playing icon today. Anytime you're talking with people about blues players, his name always comes up. And this wasn't even his best record by any means necessary. This was not his best record, but Pride and Joy is probably his biggest song, and it was on this album. The whole world heard him before this album ever came out on the David Bowie record, Dance Dance, or Let's Dance, whatever it's called. Which is hilarious to hear that British synth pop with Texas blues in the background of it, but somehow it magically worked out great. But to wrap it up,
it was perfect for Bowie, though. Yeah,
it was absolute, because Bowie is so eccentric and all over the place. What else do you need? But to wrap it up, number 3, Texas Flood by Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble.
And that's a cold shot.
That's a cold shot, baby.
Roger. Roger, what you got for 3?
Before I go and talk about my number 3, I would just like to state that even though I made the joke, I actually love Glam Era. Just want to throw that out there. I
Rock and
think
roll.
Clam Terra is actually very underrated. Anyway,
Oh, you mean Diamond Daryl?
yeah.
Oof. I think I saw one of those albums at the record show I was at this weekend. I can't
Actually,
remember which one it was. I can't remember if it was that one or if it was Projects in the Jungle. I saw one of them, but it was like that was a little more money than I wanted to spend, and I
It
don't
was
think it was an
probably
original.
Metal Magic, because
Yeah,
that's the one
Well,
I see all the time.
Well,
Anyway,
well, Daryl was still listed as Diamond Daryl past Cowboys from Hell, wasn't he? Because on the
I think
Cowboys
so.
from Hell, he was credited as Diamond Daryl.
Yeah,
think
but
so.
everybody knew it was changed by then.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
He
somewhere
also-
between the first.
everyone
You go
knows
ahead.
he also loved Van Halen.
Yes,
Big time.
huge.
Anyway,
All right, what
my
you got?
number 3 is a kick, not just any normal kick, a spinning back kick to the face.
Whoa!
I love those.
Show
kind of
No
things.
Mercy by Slayer. And if I could find my Slayer t-shirt, I would be wearing it tonight. I have way too many t-shirts, and my wife's gonna yell some, but there's Speed, and then there's Slayer. That's really all you have to say about that.
And that was the debut.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine,
That was the debut.
where they went from there was even more ridiculous. But yeah, keep going.
Love, evil has no boundaries, die by the sword, fight till death, metal storm, face the Slayer. Sorry, Black Magic,
Black Magic's classic.
and the closer, classic to Show No Mercy.
It sounds horrifying.
It was horrifying.
For
People were
1983,
probably
that was.
afraid.
And then they would come out with Hell Awaits, which was
Yeah.
even more terrifying. But boy, I'll tell you, songs like Fight Till Death and Black Magic, Evil Has No Boundaries. I think of Die by the Sword, and I think of the Live Undead version. They say the pen is mightier than the sword. Well, I say F the pen. They say you die by the sword, and just they kick into that. It's just oh my gosh. Of course, and then you have the big song. Here you got Tom Araya as the nice Catholic boy, and he's singing "I Am the Antichrist." That's like one of the other well-known songs on that album. And here he's singing "I Am the Antichrist." I can't remember the words now. It's been so long since I listened to that song, but yeah, I mean, that was groundbreaking for 1983.
Ugh.
And I'm sure we're probably going to get a mention from another band that came out with something in 1983 that was also very groundbreaking. So
I would also like to say albums like this is why I wish I was a little older so I could have seen some of this live in the prime. But like once I told my old gym buddy, I probably wouldn't be alive if I was a teenager in the 80s.
Slayer mosh pits are probably one of the most violent places you could ever be, I think.
Ugh.
I was in a Cannibal Corpse one.
That's pretty bad too.
And that was frightening. I fell down and I thought I was gonna die, but somebody literally threw me from the ground and picked me back up. Yeah.
What we're here to do, pick each other up.
I don't want to.
All right. Jason.
Oh my gosh, really? Oh,
What?
I don't even want to know what that was about.
I told him, I said, I don't want to tell these guys about the mosh pit we were in because they would laugh at us.
Oh,
We were in a mosh pit at an Avenged Sevenfold concert.
well,
I was in a mosh pit for an Avenged Sevenfold
It was
concert.
that's
like-
not
I had
bad.
one-
They're good. I kind of like Avenged Sevenfold personally. They were good.
yeah, and like
This was before the Hail to the King album. This
Oh,
was
well.
before the Rev died when they were actually really
Oh,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
really. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's when
this was-
it was Warped Tour. I don't know. It was around the same time City of Evil came out.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
This was in like 09.
this was 09, so this was in between their self-titled and Nightmare album. But yeah, that was
Yeah,
Great
this was
night.
like 3 months before the Rev died. So
I met M Shadows. He was a nice guy.
I got close, like by close regulations, I got close enough to shout at the rhythm guitar player, and he looked down, acknowledged me, smiled, and then went back to playing.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
that's I did. I was like, Zachy, and he looked down and just kind of smiled and just kept playing. And like, oh, I was like, yeah, it's cool. But on the inside, I was like, oh my god, he actually noticed me.
I caught Johnny's bass guitar pick. Is how
there you
close
go.
we were to that stage. So
Oh, yeah, I still got that.
yeah. All right, Jason.
Jason, what you got, man? What we got for number 3?
I went with a debut.
Again,
83 was a year of debuts, apparently. Mine's a little different than everybody else's, though. Mine's European. It literally is European because it's the self-titled album Europe by the band Europe.
Look at there.
All right.
that was no mention.
Very nice. Very nice.
Really great album. The opening track in the future to come was really, I mean, it's awesome track. The King Will Return, that was a really good one. My personal favorite was the side B opener, Children of This Time. Ooh, killer song. On the whole, really good album. I would recommend it. I don't know if it's I'm not that familiar with Europe's catalog, so I can't say if there were better things to come or worse than this. I don't know. I mean, I've listened to I think 3 albums of theirs. But this one stands up. It's a really good solid record that I would recommend to anybody who is trying to get into the I wouldn't say heavy metal. I would say more hard rock side of rock and roll.
Yeah, they were a glam band for sure at the time.
Yeah, but
Well, no,
I've heard so many people say that you get away from Final Countdown and their catalog was very strong stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's the
Final
same
Countdown
thing.
was just so much different.
Yeah, same thing when we did 84. That was an album that also was like on the outside looking in, just like this one. It was very good.
I would say Europe is a really strong band, but I think they probably got a little overshadowed by Asia because Asia was definitely a bigger band, more popular band that kind of maybe drowned out Europe a little bit. But I mean, they're both great. I do. I think this was a good, strong record. Children of This Time is a killer track. I mean, super good. Anyway, that's my number 3.
Cool. Love that. Great to see them getting some love on here, especially that early stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
JD, what you got?
All right. Sticking to an American heavy metal band.
Right.
Their 5th studio album, released in 83 through A&M Records. I have mentioned them previously, so this is a repeat band. Mean Streak by Y&T.
Y&T.
Yeah, Rush didn't have anything in 83. So. That's the only year you will not hear me talk about Rush.
They've released an album every year for 45 years.
But yes.
Except 83.
Except 83.
Yeah. It saddens me to think that Y&T weren't as popular. Like, I mean, they were in certain, but not like mainstream. I honestly feel like they should be, because every time we've done one of these projects and I see an album, most time it usually will hit, in our five, except for when we did 84. But I just, oh my gosh, everything that I've heard so far by them has been fantastic, and this one is no exception. It's, you're coming off of the previous album, Me and Black Tiger, which, that one, like I said, that was I think number 3 or 4 when we did 82. But yeah, like I said, he started out with, I probably think it's probably their biggest hit is the title track Mean Street. That just comes up and just hits you. Then you got Straight Through the Heart, which is a really good track.
Great Dio song.
Oh, funny. Lonely Side of Town's really good. I like that one. But I think one of the standout tracks is Inside One is Midnight in Tokyo, which to me kind of has the same feel. I think it was the track Forever off the previous album. Kind of has the same kind of setup where you kind of get this guitar sort of riff solo at the beginning, and then it finally comes in, and to find out that it was inspired by a live show in Tokyo is what inspired that song. Yeah. And then, Side Tree, get Breaking Away. What I've noticed about their songs is the verses are very riff oriented, but the choruses are very kind of pop, like pop sounding, where it's got enough to catch you, where it's like if you might have slept on the verse, but the chorus comes in and it catches you because it's got that sort of kind of, and I think to me it's like, why that should have been like a way for them to get boosted up, because that's what a lot of people tend to, like, mainstream audiences care more about is, if that the chorus, if it's catchy, it should be a hit. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Hang 'em High is really good. Take You to the Limit, good track. Sentimental Fool is really good. Down and Dirty. And if you listen to through a streaming platform like I did, there's a bonus track that's called I'm Not Sorry that's pretty good. I like how with these remastered versions that you get on a streaming, I'm pretty sure it's probably maybe available on a CD too, but they always throw in a bonus track. And usually the bonus track it may not be the best thing, but it's pretty solid. But yeah, but that whole album to me is just, I really enjoy that one. I've gone back and listened to Mean Street a lot, and a lot of it is because of the 2 tracks, to me, being Mean Streak and Midnight in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Those 2 tracks elevated.
Dave Menichetti is just such an underrated guitar player and vocalist. I mean,
yeah,
and songwriter, really. I mean, he had everything. I mean, it was just a great total package, and they just flew under that radar. They just didn't quite get the notice that they should have gotten. But kudos to Ronnie James Dio to giving Menichetti that vocal part for in Stars, which is the hearing aid track. So so he recognized that there was a strong talent there.
Yeah, it's a band that's just like, I didn't know of their existence until Pete part of Sea of Tranquility, and he also he helped kind of navigate me kind of towards some stuff that might not have been on my 5, but did make me aware of some other stuff too. So, but yeah, that was just one of those albums that when I was like, oh, Y&T dropped something, oh yeah, for sure. I feel like that's going to wind up cracking the list, because it's just really good stuff.
Great choice.
What you got?
Oh man. All right. Well, I'm just gonna this album is actually one of my favorites of all time, but I'm gonna throw it out now because I feel like I'm gonna throw out my other 2 are gonna be interesting. I've talked a lot about this particular album. I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on it. You guys may know what's coming. Warlord. Deliver Us. One of the first Metal Blade albums. 6-song album. Every song's epic. Amazing songs. Rest in peace, Bill Samus. Mark Zonder on A through Z. You can catch him on some good Fates Warning, but I mean, goodness, I talk so much about this album. I love it. Deliver Us from Evil, wonderful track. Winter Tears, wonderful track. Child of the Damned, wonderful track. Penny for a Poor Man, Black Mass, Lucifer's Hammer. Enough said. Ben, number two.
Number dos. So, history lesson. March 19th, 1982, Randy Rhoads dies in a airplane malfunction accident, helicopter malfunction. It fell out of the
Crash.
sky.
It was an airplane.
Yeah.
Crashed into the bus.
Crashed, yes.
Pilot was high as a kite.
Terrible, terrible day in the world of metal music. True virtuoso. Amazing player. Unfortunately for that, Ozzy was still under contract to his father-in-law. So the show must go on. They recruit a young man named Jake E. Lee into the band to replace him. He's a blues player predominantly, blues rock player predominantly. Knocked it out of the park on his very first at-bat with the band. Bark at the Moon, Ozzy Osbourne, 1983. One of the most complete metal albums that you could ever listen to. It changed the direction of Ozzy. It was a little more synth, a little more glam, a little more pop. But for Ozzy, being a huge pop influenced guy, huge Beatles fanatic, Elvis guy, this is what Ozzy needed to become, right? I couldn't see Ozzy doing like a Slayer type gig or a death gloom black metal gig. Ozzy was a pop metal guy. He was a glam guy. Bark at the Moon is my favorite Ozzy album ever. There's not a bad song on it, especially if you listen to the original 8-track album. You get rid of Spiders and One Up the B-side, which were terrible songs.
Yeah.
Just didn't fit. But the original 8-track listing, there's not a bad song on it. Center of Eternity, Now You See It, Now You Don't, Rock and Roll Rebel, even the ballad So Tired. Fantastic work. And Jake just killed it and established himself as a front runner of, I can feel Randy's shoes. I can play everything Randy could play. And this is all, mind you, this is all after Brad Gillis from Night Ranger turned down the Ozzy gig.
Yeah.
Brad Gillis, another guy, could play everything Randy could play, just as good as Randy could play. However, he wanted to see it through with his band Night Ranger, and glad he did because it worked out great for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But Jake really set the bar high. This album is phenomenal. If you've never heard it, you're missing out severely. My number 2 pick, Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne.
That one was potentially going to that was actually going to be on my list, but I gave you that because I know how you feel about that album.
That album hits me really hard. I went through a phase several years ago with this huge Ozzy kick. It was around the time his Black Rain album came out or something like that. And I was like, I want to go back and listen to the whole catalog and hear the evolution of his, his band has always, changed a lot. He's had many members in his band, but the lead guitar gig for Ozzy is like a mantelpiece trophy that every guitar player strives for. And, I wanted to hear all of them to hear how different they were. And Jake just resonated with me because of his blues background, and then he would go on to front, have the little blues rock band, Badlands, and then he would currently fronting Red Dragon Cartel, which is a killer hard rock act.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my, and it all goes back to Bark.
Now, if they would only let him have the songwriting credits for that album.
Yeah, absolutely. Another song that he claims he had writing, he had helped write and structure was Rainbow in the Dark with Dio. he supposedly, when he got the call from Sharon that he was in the Ozzy band, he was helping Dio at his house write his Holy Diver album.
Huh. Interesting.
Well,
So-
there you go. And he was in an early version of Rat,
Yes.
Yeah.
very early version before they got going.
Yeah,
So
him and Warren were roommates in
Yep.
California, actually.
Yep.
California.
So
Roger.
Wasn't it Warren that actually had Jake build the white Charvel?
I think so.
Man.
Or
Right.
Warren had a buddy that I had a buddy at Charvel that did it for him. I don't remember. Anyway, yeah. Okay, go Roger.
Roger, number 2.
Speaking of Holy Diver, that's my number 2.
Nice lead in.
Now, I would like to pose a question before I say why I love this album. Has there been anyone that has started over more than twice that has written such ridiculously amazing stuff with each band that they've been in and still stand the test of time? I don't know if there's anyone that you can really mention.
It's hard, other than Dio, it's hard to mention.
I guess you could maybe say Ozzy, but that's just twice.
Yeah.
He literally started over 3 times. He went from Rainbow to Black Sabbath to his solo stuff.
Maybe.
You count Elf.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say maybe Paul McCartney because he had the Beatles and he had Wings and then he had his solo stuff.
True. I think about that.
But Dio's released albums under the Elf band, under Rainbow, under Sabbath, and then with Dio.
And then back to Sabbath, because I did the 92 album.
Yeah.
And then before he passed, he had that other band that he did with the members of the
Yeah, they called it Heaven and Hell.
They had the
Made
one
more
album.
sense.
Yeah.
Because who wants to hear? Personally, I don't want to hear Ronnie James Dio singing Ozzy Sabbath. So
No.
if you're just gonna do Ronnie James Dio era, then yeah, the Heaven and Hell name was perfect.
Yeah.
So, all right, great. I knew we'd get a Holy Diver here somewhere, so
Yeah.
we'll stand up and shout for that. So that's good.
And Holy Diver's not even the best track in my opinion.
That's true. It's not.
That would be either Rainbow in the Dark or Don't Talk to Strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah, this album just hits you straight through the heart, man. It really does.
Yeah. And it did straight through the heart better too.
Yeah. Sometimes it makes you want to stand up and shout.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh boy, we are going with the puns tonight. Jason, save us from this madness we're under.
I told you this was going to be for the ages.
I would just like to say one more thing though.
Oh, go ahead.
I do not understand the life of me why Dio's wife says he doesn't get as much credit as he deserves. I think she's out to lunch when she says that every bloody interview. He's like everyone thinks he's pretty much the best metal singer of all time. Like
Any of them,
how can you get better than that? Like I don't understand. I just wanted to rant a little bit. I don't.
Oh, with that. All right, Jason, go for it.
Well, he kind of stole my thunder there with my saving us from the puns because I'm going to say Never Surrender because that's my next album, Never Surrender by Triumph.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, number 2 is Triumph going up to the Great White North for this one, which technically it kind of walks the fine line between being a 1982 and a 1983 because it was released in 1982 in Canada and it was released in January of 1983 in the rest of the world. So since Canada doesn't count, joking, joking. Since Canada doesn't count, we're going to say it's 1983. Anyway, it's a really, really phenomenal record. I have, in the course of doing this show, become a huge fan of band Triumph.
Are you willing to lay it on the line that you are?
Yes, all the way, which is the fourth track of this record. And I will never surrender, especially when the lights go down.
I would just like to say you need to get rid of your mustache and stop making dad jokes. You're taking the character.
Oh Lord, fight the good fight.
Oh boy, it's time to call it quits because I've seen the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
Well, that was my last one. Oh, that's good.
But in all seriousness, never surrender. My hat's off to him. It's a phenomenal record. If you haven't listened to it, check it out. Triumph. I don't know exactly how to classify them. They're kind of I guess just a good classic rock and roll style band. Something very reminiscent of early to mid 70s.
Yeah, I dig Triumph a lot. They're so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of good tracks, but a lot of good stuff from them.
Yes, absolutely. I love them. Become a huge fan. Okay.
All right,
JD.
good stuff. JD, number two.
2.
All right. I had a rough time with this one, figuring out who was going to be number one and who was going to be number two. But I had to trust my gut instinct on this. So this album would be, I don't want to say, I'm trying to count it in my head. Anyway, whatever. Hold on, sorry. My brain's gone numb there for a minute. Would it be their fourth album?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it is. Sorry. Yeah, it is. It's the fourth album. A little bit of a lineup change from the previous album. The previous drummer couldn't quite cut it. So the bass player was like, well, it's my band. You can't cut it. You're out.
Oh, it's got to be a Kiss record.
So
That was done already.
and so this guy comes in and changes the game on how the drums and just how that sound of the band goes from this point forward, and that is Peace of Mind by Iron Maiden. Yeah, like I said, you kick off with Where Eagles Dare, just that drum intro, which is funny enough, hearing Nico talk about it, where he was like, he hated it, but Steve had him open every show with it. And he said it's the most complicated thing he's ever done, but yet Steve told him, nope, that's how we're kicking off the tour that year. So every show, but yeah, just you kick off with Where Eagles Dare, great opener. One of the, great album openers just in general. You got Revelations, which, I love Revelations.
Revelations is such a deep song. It really is.
There's so many moving parts to that one. Then you got Flight of Icarus, which when I first heard Flight of Icarus, I'm not going to lie, not a big fan. I can see why Steve doesn't like it, but over time, I've grown to like it. I hear it, I like it for what it is. Then you end side one with Die With Your Boots On. Oh, just
it's a great album.
It's a great track. I love Die With Your Boots On. It's got a great chorus, that sing along thing to it that makes Made good. And then you kick off side two with The Trooper. It's the Maiden track. It's the Trooper. It's the Trooper.
And then
it's in probably like my top 5 Maiden tracks. I absolutely love. I never get tired of hearing.
And then you turn the album off and you're done.
I like Still Life.
I like Still Life.
Still Life
It's
is great.
It's haunting.
We'll give you peace of mind.
It gives you the chills. And then you got Quest for Fire. It's campy. It's just
Sun and Steel. Yeah.
Dennis was walked in, and it's like the rest of the song's good after that point, but it's just you start off with just not very good lyrics, in my opinion. But the rest of the song's really good. It's just I don't like that opening part, the opening words. And you got Sun and Steel, which I like. Sun and Steel. It's better than Quest for Fire. So
that's its merit right there. It's better than Quest for Fire.
But then you end it with To Tame a Land, which is where Maiden start to get to that experimental, epic, proggy kindness to the music. And I have a soft spot for this song because it's based off the novel Dune, and I'm a huge Dune fan.
Yeah.
Granted, it's copy, cut, and paste. It's not the lyrics itself aren't very deep. It's just basic. It's just generic plot.
I read the Wikipedia page.
Yeah, and Steve was just like, because they wanted to call the song Dune, and they contacted Frank Herbert and was like, hey, do you mind if we named this song Dune? And he's like, I don't like heavy music, and I don't like my work being used for metal music. So Steve had to go, okay, we'll call it Tame a Land. I like it. I don't mind it. It's them kind of experimenting with like what is yet to come in follow-up albums. Like I said, it's no Alexander the Great or Empire of the Clouds, but I do like it.
Yeah.
It's and yeah. And plus I really dig the artwork.
The artwork is great.
And this really cool like little pop.
Yep.
I've always loved, well, not all of them, but most of the Maiden covers to me have just been just loved to death.
I'm getting Eddie tattooed on me one day. I
I
have a plan for metal mascot sleeve.
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 2, and I actually don't have a show and tell for this one, but because I decided just to do this one off the cuff. But this was an album that my last 2 are actually going to be ones that I know I played a heck of a lot in 1990 or 1983 into 84. And the one that I'm going to talk about now, Randy Rhoads was mentioned earlier, and he of course fronted was the guitar player for this little band called Quiet Riot.
Quiet Riot.
Before he gets the call from Ozzy, and he goes to join Ozzy's band, and Kevin Dubrow is kind of like, well, what am I going to do? So after a failed attempt of a solo act, he decides he's going to revamp Quiet Riot. He brings in Carlos Cavazo on drums. He brings in Chuck Wright for bass with Rudy Sarzo on a couple of tracks. And you get the beast, Frankie Banali, on drums. And I'm talking about Metal Health.
Metal Health.
I played the snot out of that album back in the day. Of course, you're sucked in by the Slade cover of Come On, Feel the Noise.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get the title track, Bang Your Head, Metal Health. But then you get the rest of the album. You get a revamped version of Slick Black Cadillac, which was on the second album. And, the second Quiet Riot album with Randy. And then you get, of course, the side one ends with a kind of a ballad, but then it gets a heavy song called Love's a Bitch. Great song. I love the chanting with that song. And yes, I know this is probably the most cussing I've ever done on my own show. But anyway, side 2, you open with Breathless, this up-tempo, speedy song. Just like really comes at you. Run for Cover, another great track. You get Battle Axe with a you could just an unaccompanied guitar solo. Of course, the album ends with Thunderbird, which was Kevin's tribute to Randy. I just love that album so much. I'm sad I don't have a physical copy to show off, but Metal Health was one album that I played a lot, and it meant a lot to me back in those days. I waited for when Condition Critical came out and loved that album just as much. But Metal Health, yeah, I played that one quite a bit. So now we are into some number ones.
Before I start, I have to ask. I'm gonna ask you because you're an expert on this. And
I don't know about that, but
is it true or is it just urban legend that for "Come On Feel the Noise" that he sang it off key on purpose?
I don't know about that. I think the record company wanted them to do the song, and the band wasn't really feeling it that much. But then when Benally came in with that boom, bah,
Yeah.
boom, bah, boom, boom, and then all of a sudden it just exploded. I don't know about the off-key singing part. That I don't know about, but when Benally came in with that opening drum thing, that's what kicked it off, and that's when they started feeling like okay, we got something here. So
Yeah.
and obviously they liked it enough to do another Slate song on their follow-up. So with
Yeah.
We're All Crazy Now. So there you go.
Okay.
All right, let's hear some number ones. Go
All
Bill.
right. So my number one, yes, I'm a diehard Iron Maiden fan. Yes, I'm a diehard Ozzy Osbourne fan. Neither one of those two albums made it to my number one slot. They were both edged out, and it was not by Kill 'Em All or whatever. Yeah, Kill 'Em All that came out that year.
Yeah, great
album. That's not my number one pick. Journey was not my number one pick. I discovered a debut album from a band that I had never heard of that were involved in the new wave of British heavy metal. When Maiden dropped, everything changed. When Maiden and Priest and Def Leppard released all their albums, and it changed the way heavy metal was. And all these bands came to America from England. A lot of them got sort of lost in the shuffle. Well, I discovered one that got lost in the shuffle. And it sounds to me like this album is if Paul Di'Anno had stayed with Maiden up until Nico joined, and the lineup had been Nico, Adrian, Dave Murray, Steve, and Paul. This is what that album would have sounded like. And I'm talking about Tokyo Blade's debut album, Tokyo Blade.
Nice. Yeah.
It changed the way I view classic metal music. It is an insanely good, just guitar play. It's got twin guitars. I don't know any of the members' names. I know they've got a deeper roster of past members than Megadeth does. It's crazy. They've had a revolving door since '83. But it starts off with the song Power Game. Opens up with this insane, crazy guitar riff, dive bombing like nobody's business. And Break the Chains, another awesome song. If Heaven is Hell opens up with acoustic guitar, then it just gets super heavy. Fantastic song. On Through the Night, Killer City. Killer City is a crazy good song. Sunrise in Tokyo was like the last actual song, and then it does a little country bluegrass folk ditty at the end of it called Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Little funny ditty song. But Tokyo Blade, dude, I couldn't praise this album enough. When I first heard it, I got through the whole thing and I'm like, what the heck did I just listen to? So I listened to it again and again. I've listened to this album a dozen times in the last 2 weeks. That's how good it is. It's insane. Number one pick, Tokyo Blade. Tokyo Blade.
Nice. That's Now that's a pick people need to go look for, and that's probably what I'm going to go looking for too. Because
Sea of Tranquility did a review on it a year ago on YouTube.
nice.
So
I'm going to go start looking for that one. Good, great choice, Ben. Great choice.
thank you.
Okay, Roger. What we got?
I just counted the amount of numbers they had. It's 23. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of members for a 5-piece band.
Woo!
That is still not as much as Dave.
Still not as much as Dave.
I looked at their list. You need to go to another page to look at their past.
That
And
sounds
ironically,
We love you, Dave Mustaine. Don't get me wrong. We love you, Dave.
Dude. And ironically, Dave is on this album. And seeing as you've probably been watching us for a while, for whatever reason you might have, see how long this beard gets, or hear Ben's terrible dad jokes. But Metallica's coming up, and to me, if Slayer was a spin kick to the face, this was a Mike Tyson punch. And then you're good night.
This is a gut punch. Kill 'em all is a gut punch.
This I think it's still been my gotta be my favorite Metallica album by them. It's just something about it just makes me happy.
Oh,
It's
Hit
good.
the lights, Four Horsemen, Whiplash, Motor Breath.
It is easily one of the greatest debuts of all time. Easily one of the greatest.
man.
If we ever get around to doing best debuts, I'll probably talk about this again too.
Yeah.
And it's funny how instead of talking about how great this album is, I would like to discuss how I discovered this. Sting used to come out to Seek and Destroy in WCW.
I remember that.
True. Yes.
And
I
not
remember that.
police Sting, wrestler Sting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
That's
I
how
remember
I
that.
discovered it. And I'm like, I remember listening to this as a kid, and I was thinking, holy crap. I had to censor myself, see?
Look at that.
Yeah, look at that. Everyone thinks I swear all the time. My wife's looking at me like I'm nuts. Check. Oh, my wife fainted because I censored myself. See, I do have a filter. But yeah,
Great album.
I remember
Yeah.
hearing Hit the Lights when I saw Metallica live, and I was thinking, that's great. And then they played Seek and Destroy. And then that's pretty much my life complete up until when I actually had my wedding day.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I thought that was going to be my best day ever, but no, my wedding beat it.
I
always thought guys were lame for saying that, but I understand now.
Well, y'all see what shirt I'm wearing here, so I mean, come on.
Yeah, don't let my wife see that, please. I hope she never watches this.
But jumping back to Kill 'Em All, I have very fond memories of listening to this album with it was actually my ex's brother and some of his friends. They were like late teens and something like that. So they were just getting into a lot of this kind of music. And I remember, playing Kill 'Em All, and they had, they were, some of them were learning guitar. So I remember us just jamming on like No Remorse or Four Horsemen, or, we were just kind of learn some of the songs together. So it was kind of fun. I have very fond memories of Kill 'Em All. So good choice. Good choice. I was hoping somebody was going to talk about that.
It was going to make, but it was on my original list too. I was like, no, that's for Roger.
That's for Roger.
That's for Roger.
Yeah,
Jason.
I wanted it. I wanted it, but I left it for Roger. And
I'm
Roger
the Aussie guy. He's the Maiden guy. Roger's the Metallica guy.
Well, hopefully Lars sends me
And I'm the Rush
something.
guy.
Jason, what you got, bro?
and well, Roger also stole my number one
Okay.
twice.
What?
He, it was going to be Kill 'Em All. I said, no, I'll leave that to Roger. So I put down Holy Diver, and that ends up being Roger's number two. So I went to my backup. I had to go with Head First by Uriah Heep.
Ooh,
Oh, that's
nice.
a good one. That's a good one.
I had to go with that one. I mean, my personal favorite track off of it was number one, The Other Side of Midnight.
Yes. Yeah.
Super cool song. And forgive me, Canada, but I really don't care. They do Bryan Adams better than Bryan Adams. I see you got that. You understand what I'm talking about.
Oh boy.
Let's just say Bryan Adams, when he plays anywhere live, he has to have popcorn popping at all times so he could smell it.
That's odd.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's not forget that this is not the first troublesome thing to come to Canada. I mean, let's not forget Bryan Adams, right?
Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going with the South Park
He's
reference. Y'all
going
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah, that was.
All right,
That's funny.
but
Great choice, Dan.
it was a really good record. I hate that it had to be my third choice to be number one, but times they are difficult.
Could have just picked one of mine. Great minds think alike.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I mean, Dio. I mean, it's freaking Dio. He's got to be number one.
True.
Anyway,
You know,
JD, I think it's your
Solid choice. All right, JD, what we got for your number one?
All right. Sports by Huey Lewis and the News.
Nice. I would thunder.
Jokes aside, I do love that album though. It's really
I love
good.
Huey. Period.
It's this one, right, JD?
It's An Innocent Man by Billy Joel.
That's right.
I thought you were going to go with Weird Al Yankovic's debut.
No.
Wait, he came out in '83.
Yeah.
My Bologna.
Yes.
Just
Weird Al
kidding, just kidding.
Yankovic's debut album.
Just kidding. My number one's Holy Diver by Dio.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
And
I would have put him on my top. I love Weird Al. I'm sorry.
Great.
Go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, just like Jason said, and it's Dio, it's Ronnie, like
the absolute most incredible voice in all of rock, heavy metal, however you want to classify it. I mean, dude could get up there and sing opera, and I would love it.
True. It's like I said, it's another one of those debuts. That's just amazing. You got, you start with Stand Up and Shout, and it's, you get in that, it starts off with that guitar riff, and you're just like, ooh, you're in for a good time. I love Stand Up and Shout. I think it's a great probably one of the greatest opening tracks ever.
Not to mention the incredible, amazing Vivian Campbell on guitar.
Which honestly, when I got into Dio, it was because of Vivian Campbell. It wasn't because of Ronnie James Dio. I listened to Dio for Vivian.
Oh, dude, yeah. Vivian, his guitar playing on
new wave of British heavy metal tie-in. He's currently a member of Def Leppard.
Yeah, and I love Stand Up and Shout. And you got the title track.
Are we talking about Stand Up and Shout by Dio or by Steel Dragon?
Steel Dragon.
Oh boy.
What was the real band that did that? Steel Heart? Was that their name?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
But yeah, I guess you got Holy Diver, which
Yeah. And
I absolutely love that song. Like, and if I know, like it's not my favorite. Funny enough,
I'm with Roger. I firmly believe that the best song on that record, and it's one of my all time favorite records, is it's a toss up. Whatever I feel like that day is to be "Don't Talk to Strangers" or "Rainbow in the Dark."
Rainbow in the Dark is hands down my favorite Dio track, and it's the one he hated the most because he thought it was too poppy.
Yeah, but like I said, title track's fantastic. It's a staple in the heavy metal world. Then you got Gypsy, which I love Gypsy. Just and then you got Caught in the Middle. I'd like Caught in the Middle. It's it's one of the kind of popular type songs, but it's still really good. And then you end it with the inside one with Don't Talk to Strangers, which what I said about how the last in line starts all kind of melodic and like slow pace, that's the way Don't Talk to Strangers to me is kind of like the last in line of this album, because it's all and then then he just comes in just with just the voice, and you just that's when the riff comes in, and it's just what a way to kick off side one.
Yep.
And then you start side two with Straight Through the Heart. That drum intro as soon as it comes in, and then just the riff, just getting chills just thinking about it. Getting chills thinking about it.
Wonderful album.
Love Straight Through the Heart. It's a great track. Then you get Invisible. I love Invisible. It's got a good catchy chorus to it. Then you get the big one, Rainbow in the Dark. I love. I think Rainbow in the Dark may be my second favorite track on here. I absolutely love everything about Rainbow in the Dark. It's got the pop element to it with the keyboards and everything, but it's just it's got a powerful message in it, and so that's how I feel. I feel like there's a positive message in it. And every time when I used to work I would play this song, and one of my coworkers would just look at me, and he's like, "How the hell can you be a rainbow in the dark?" And I'm like, "I don't know, Adam. I don't know.
Don't matter.
It doesn't matter what Dio says. It's Dio says it's true."
Listen to the lyrics of Holy Diver. They are complete and utter nonsense, but it's beautiful.
It's because you got the riff, the dun 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 dun. It's just great. It's like it's kind of, to me, it's kind of doomy. Like it's got a very like doom type riff to it, but I'm getting off track.
Get on track.
Then you end it with what I think is probably my favorite song, Shame on the Night. Just sounds like what I said about what about Egypt, the Chains Are Off. It's, to me, Shame on the Night sounds like it could have been on a Sabbath album with Dio. You get the wolves at the beginning, then you get just the like I said, just the guitar playing on this album is just
Vivian's playing. What a way to welcome into the world is just Vivian's playing.
Dude, it's
Vivian's
insane.
playing.
Great stuff.
Vinny's drumming.
Yeah.
Jimmy Bain's bass.
Yep.
Just the Holy Diver bass riff is so simple, but it works so well. It's just everything about this album to me is just
perfect.
Just perfect.
Yep.
Like, it is absolutely perfect. And I love this album. Like I said, anytime Dio can be mentioned. I'm mentioning Dio. I don't care if everybody else puts Dio on their list. Dio's on Dio. I will always, when it comes to us doing this, there is 3 that 9 times out of 10, if they had something come out, anything to do with Ronnie on any form of anything is getting mentioned. Iron Maiden and Rush.
That's true.
Pretty much just with those 3 right there, I will always mention.
I'll give a shout out to the band Liliac. It's a family band of young kids, young 20-somethings, teenagers, and they do an amazing version of Rainbow in the Dark. And
right, I've seen that.
Oh my goodness! And that girl nails it.
Yes,
absolutely nails it, and they do musically they're fantastic.
Crazy. They've done that one in The Trooper and several other songs.
Yeah, several others.
But she's the album artwork.
Of course.
Oh my gosh.
Calm down, JD. Calm down.
What you got, Metal Dave?
All right. So before I give you my number one, so I had a list of about 15 or 16 that I was looking at. So I'm going to throw out just some other ones that came out that year that I know I either really dug or was listening to that year, or I would eventually come out. So Shout at the Devil, Motley Crue, probably one of my favorite Motley Crue albums. Flick of the Switch by AC/DC.
Yes.
Actually a better album than For Those About the Rock, actually, in some way. Just wasn't quite as maybe doesn't have the memorable stuff, but it's a really strong album. I've talked about the band Picture, and they had an album called Eternal Dark. Very strong album. They got a new singer, new guitar player in for that album as well. And I was listening to it again earlier, and I was like, wow, this is still a strong album. Twisted Sisters, You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. Killer album. Loudness, the Japanese band Loudness, they put an album out called Law of Devil's Land. They would also do a live album later that year. Law of Devil's Land is an amazing album. The title track has a very snarling rhythm and groove. Speed just comes at you like a freight train. Mr. Yes Man has kind of a nice proggy kind of feel to it. Very great, really good song. Highly recommend that album. All for One by the band Raven. They are now touring that album in its entirety. Yes, there you go. All hail Raven. I hope they come to the States to do that in that album, because I'd love to see them again. Rat with their 6-song EP. Crocus, there you go. The Headhunter, that was another one on my list. But the Rat came out with a 6-song EP that was amazing. You had Sweet Cheater, you had Tell the World, Back for More, early version of Back for More, Walking the Dog, an old kind of an update of the Aerosmith version of a old blues song. Sweet Cheater, great, just a superb album. Except with Balls to the Wall.
Yep.
And then of course you have the Bearded Men from Texas, ZZ Top with Eliminator.
Yeah.
But for me, this album and this band was stuff that I would discover in 1983, and I just fell in love with it. It's not heavy metal. I would say it's a little bit more hard rock, and they would call it kind of go all kinds of directions after this album or so. But this particular live album to me has definitive versions, and I love Under a Blood Red Sky from U2. I just do. I love anytime I listen to Sunday Bloody Sunday or New Year's Day, it's off this. I just love the versions on this. You got Gloria, their song, not the old Van Morrison song. Great song. 11 O'Clock TikTok, I Will Follow, another great song. Party Girl, Electric Co, and of course the set ending 40, which basically is the words of Psalm 40. And then they end, as they end the song, they all leave their instruments and walk off, and you hear the crowd singing. But I just absolutely love that. I've always loved that album. And I've always loved those songs from the band back, even from back 40 years ago. Obviously, um, War was what preceded it that year, and this was like really probably the bigger breakout album. But yeah, I had to give that one some props because I loved it back 40 years ago, and still love listening to that today. So there you go. That's some eclectic mixes of stuff there. So
Jason, I'm surprised
Yes.
with you. I'm surprised with you, brother.
What's that?
Saxon had an album, and you did not mention him.
I was actually about to get John to allow you to throw out an honorable mention.
Yeah, I had a couple.
Sorry, go for it.
That was just I'm
sorry. I should give that to everybody. If you got a couple of other honorable mentions I didn't mention, please do so right now. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I had to. So sorry about that for cutting off.
Power and Glory by Saxon. It just, as good an album as it is, and it really is a great album, it just didn't make the cut. It really didn't. It lacked. It didn't feel as big as previous Saxon records, or well, not really previous in our chronology, but in the actual chronology of band is going to be subsequent records, because they come Crusader and all of those come out later.
I was just wanting to make sure. I was just wanting to make sure, because this whole time I saw Saxon, I was like, oh, it's gonna be on Jason's pick for sure. Jason loving some Saxon.
Yes.
And I do, but I mean, quality over everything else, right? And if it doesn't make the cut to be in number 5 in the top 5, I'm not gonna put them in there just because they're one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
I did listen to Heavy Metal Maniac by Exciter. I listened to that one.
That's good.
It was pretty good and speedy. I tell you, a lot of these 1983 bands albums, you could hear the influence from Iron Maiden's first 2 records all over all of this stuff, especially the Killers album. It's just all over every one of these records.
Mm-hmm.
And Fastway by Fastway.
Fastway's first one. Yep.
That was really good. I like that one.
Midnight Madness by Night Ranger.
Yep.
While it's not their best work, Sister Christian is on there, and that is a song that's still played.
You can't stop, or you can still rock in America.
Yeah.
When you close your eyes. Yeah.
The Perfect Day by Motorhead.
Yeah.
But
the final cut.
Sabbath.
Oh,
the final cut by Pink Floyd.
The final cut by Pink Floyd.
I just said that.
Yeah, I'm echoing it. Amazing.
And I'll say that it had a couple of good songs on it. Fletcher Memorial Home's a phenomenal song.
When the Tigers
but that album is nothing more than the sound of a great band dying. That's what the album is.
I get 2 more and I'm done.
I'm done.
I got 2 more. Off the wall, Crystal Logic by Manila Road. Little prog, little progressive, and then another debut, Script for a Jester's Tear by Marillion.
Okay.
Thank you, Pete Pardo, for those.
There you go.
I listened to those 2 recently, so I was like, but I think on that we had Yes had their
90125.
I didn't listen to that one, but I knew that one.
Oh, I did.
I mentioned Billy Joel. I mentioned Huey Lewis. I think that's.
I
showed this
one more.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah.
I had one more, and it was trying to find the information on it. It was such a unusual record for me. It is. With Sympathy by Ministry. I have always heard Ministry, great metal band, great metal band. They didn't start off metal. They were the furthest thing from. They were the furthest thing from metal. This album was new wave and pop, but they later in the late '90s they become an industrial metal band, and pretty well known. But yeah, they didn't start off that way.
Yeah, Roger mentioned one in the chat a little earlier too. What was it? Court in the Act by Satan.
And that's one of my honorable mentions. And while I'm talking, I might as well say, all I want is a Pepsi. Just one Pepsi. She wouldn't give it to me.
And she wouldn't give it to me.
Yeah.
Gotta
I went
love
to a hot
institutionalized.
sauce competition, and there was a guy, I guess he was in an old punk band, and he saw my hat, and he quoted that, and my wife laughed, not knowing what that was.
Wow.
What a great album that is.
Yep.
I'm a little confused there because I don't know what that is either.
It's Suicidal Tendencies, a song called Institutionalized. It's such a fun song because all he wants is a Pepsi. And everybody's like, yeah, it's a great song. I mean, the rest of the album's really good too, but it's more punk more so than hard rock or metal. But it's got a little bit of those flavors in it, but it's a lot of skate rock punk kind of sound, but or at least that first album was. But yeah, good pick.
They stayed around the skate. Yeah. I grew up listening to punk, and then I became the thrash metal fan that I am. And my last honorable mention, I would like to give a shout out to Grim Reaper. See You in Hell.
See You in Hell, my friend. Oh gosh, that was on MTV a lot back in the day. It was amazing how much that got video play. Yeah. Oh, Steve Grimmett, rest in peace, man. That was a great album.
Nice. I forgot too. Also, Forged in Fire by Anvil.
By Anvil.
Yeah. Canadian monsters of metal.
Let me tell you, they are great, but their lyrics are.
They really are.
The lyrics are awful.
They're terrible. So bad.
So teenage. I mean, it was like if I still had my old lyrics from when I was a teenager, it was probably on that same level of what Anvil was doing.
Yes.
Throughout their career.
I still have my lyrics that I've written when I was a teenager.
I wish I had mine. I don't, but
they're terrible.
Yep.
That's my wife choking on the thought of me writing songs. If you heard that cough.
Yeah.
I put Anvil on one of our lists for metal on metal. I think it was 82. And that album, although very juvenile, was a good album. I tried to listen to Forged in Fire. It just it spiraled down so out of control so fast. It was just I made it about 3/4 of the way through that record, and I was like, I'm gonna keep what's left of my sanity and stop this now.
Speaking of bad things, my last little thing I would like to say, Born Again has the worst album cover I've ever seen in my life. And that's the same cover. Metal Magic came out the same year, and that's terrible.
Yeah, but
Born Again's it's actually not a bad album. I actually listened through it. It's actually the production. Yeah, it's actually not a bad album. I actually kind of dug it. But again, it's like if you saw the tour, which I didn't, but I'm like, who wants to hear Ian Gillan singing Ozzy Sabbath songs?
Well, the funny thing is, I was speaking of the
or get this, or why do you want to watch Black Sabbath do Smoke on the Water? Because I think it was actually on the set list.
Yeah, I have heard that the reason why the album was so bad sounding was because like the masters got lost, and apparently a couple years ago, I think Tony has come out now and stated that somehow magically he's found the masters, and there's so there could be a potential re-release of it with the original master.
I would welcome it. I think it'd be kind of cool.
I think
I
it'd be
actually
cool,
read
like
that
a big
too.
like a box set thing, or like a big
Right. We have given you all, for all of you all watching out there, we've given you guys a lot of good stuff from 1983. What did we miss? What kind of things were you all listening to in 1983? What did you like that came out in 1983? You know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, comment, throw it out there. Let's have a little interaction here. Let's talk about it. So let's end this one with a bang. For Jason Carson next with the Ghostbusters, we got JD and we got Ben Carson coming to us live from JD's living room. We got Roger Serreris coming from the Great White North of where that's all snowed in, and he's gonna give us an extreme close-up.
Thunder snow.
Thunder snow. I am Johnny Metal, the Metal Dad, John Clauser, whatever you want to call me, coming to you live from my music corner of the world. Tell us what you thought of 1983. What you like about it? Let's hear some topics that maybe you guys want us to tackle. We got a bunch of ideas we're going to be throwing out here, hopefully very soon. So with that, we're going to end this night, and we're going to see you guys soon. Take care, everybody.
Bingo.